Welcome back to the Blue North. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about the double standard that's so evident in the United States right now between the right and the left. So let's get right to it. So the governors, the Democrat governors, have issued more stay-at-home and mask mandatory mandates, and nobody's opposed to that. But the lockdowns are killing small businesses. So there has to be a way that you can help the people that run businesses in your state and still keep people safe. But you see, the problem isn't that they're putting these mandates out there, they're not following them themselves. So Governor Newsom, stay at home, closing businesses, yet out at a party. You have Nancy Pelosi, shut down, but wanted to get her hair done, shut down businesses. So she goes to a salon that's shut down, but she thinks it's okay to open it for her, no mask. You have de Blasio, who was across town walking in the park with his wife during a lockdown, during a stay-at-home advisory. You have Governor Whitmer, who said, well, nobody's allowed to even go boating. And then whose husband goes boating, tries to go boating? Governor Whitmer. See, these people, they might have been around politics a little bit too long. They don't, they don't think, or they don't remember that everybody has a phone that connects to the internet. They can take pictures, they can take videos. Maybe they're not hip enough. Maybe they're just not up on the technology enough that they don't think that they're going to get caught. But everything is on tape. Everything. You have to think that everything you do as a political or a public figure, either or, political or public, is going to be scrutinized and taped, and people on the Democrat side will do and say things and then deny it. But you're recorded. You're on tape. Somebody recorded you saying it or doing it. So it's kind of entertaining, but it's kind of scary at the same time, because they don't even realize that this evidence is out there, or they don't care. They're just so used to the double standard. They're so used that the mainstream media just won't report it or whatever. But it's out there, and you're doing things like going to salons and then turning around and in your leftism think that person owes you an apology. You closed the business. You made it mandatory that you have to wear masks. You didn't do either. You went to a business that was closed because it was for you. It's okay if it's for you. Anybody else? No. And a mask, well, everybody else has to wear a mask, just not you. But they owe you an apology. Only if you're a Democrat. Okay, moving along. One word, proof. So for 2.5 years, the mainstream media and the Democrats, every chance they got, they were talking about all the proof that was there that Donald Trump had colluded with the Russians. The Mueller report, there was zero proof. They knew there was zero proof. They knew that before Obama left office. This was something that the Democrats had cooked up to stumble Trump at the beginning of his presidency. So zero proof, yet told the American people that there was proof constantly, every day, all day long. Now there's proof that there's voter fraud, actual proof, like verifiable truth. And it's just not proof. There's no proof. No, can't. It's conspiracy theories. It's crazy. It's almost like the Democrats don't really know what the word proof is. They don't really know what the meaning is of proof, because there's proof, and that's why it's going to the Supreme Court. And I'm going to talk about that later. So, Harry Styles. Now, this is a double standard right here. Harry Styles gets into an argument with Candace Owen. Now, Candace Owen is a Republican. She's a female. She's black. So Harry Styles gets into an argument with her because he's wearing a dress. And she thinks that men should be masculine. Men should be back to being manly men. And Harry responds to her criticism of him in a dress by wearing a very frilly, feminine shirt. But the odd part about it is he's holding a banana. Now, there's only two reasons that he could be holding the banana. One, he's trying to make it as a phallic symbol, making it more feminine, that he's holding and caressing this banana. I don't think that's the thing. The other thing is, she's black. I think it's more of a racial undertone than anything else. And I think that that's sad that the media hasn't even addressed the fact that that's there, that's present. And a lot of people maybe think that that isn't what's going on, but if that was a reversed scenario and it was a young black Democrat that was in an argument with a white conservative, and the white conservative was holding a banana, you would be guaranteed the mainstream media, the social media, everybody, all of the Hollywood elite, everybody would be calling for this person to resign, get fired, whatever, because they would say it is a complete racist moment. So why is it okay for Harry Styles? Well, I'll tell you what. I have no idea what Harry Styles sings. I don't know his music, maybe because I'm too old. Maybe it just isn't my thing. He might be a great musician. He could be a great artist. Could be the best songwriter ever. I've lost all respect for him as a human being, because if you can't handle just a simple back and forth with Candace Owen without going to this extra level of having a banana present in the picture, you need to do a lot of self-reassessing. That's what I think the best way of saying it. It's probably the lowest moment of 2020. And there was a pandemic on. So the really a weird thing, and it's illegal, but it doesn't matter with Democrats. They want a list of Trump supporters. And many of them are calling for this list of Trump supporters and lashing out at Trump supporters, and for the Latinos for Trump and blacks for Trump, and they're trying to get a list of all the people. Listen, you cheated and you won, and you're still going after Trump supporters. You're still going after a list. What do you need this list for? Why would you need the list? You won. And if you didn't cheat, then why the list? Why do you need the list? Because you always obviously have the voter base. So either way, you don't need a list, and it's illegal. But there's got to be something up when so many Democrats are calling for the fact that we need a list of everybody that voted for Trump. That should put a red flag up. There is a war on Christmas. There was a Michigan Attorney General was out shopping with her son, and somebody said Merry Christmas to them. And she took to Twitter and she took to social media to condemn this act and say how her son was completely devastated that somebody would say Merry Christmas. And she even went as far as to say, well, Joe Biden's going to fix that. And there was a link and everything. Fix Christmas? You're going to fix somebody saying Merry Christmas? There is a war on Christmas. Let me tell you, we don't celebrate happy holidays. If you want to say happy holidays, go ahead, free speech, everything else. But that is a Christmas tree. It's Christmas season. It is the Christmas holiday. We, as Christians, celebrate the birth of Christ. It is all about Christ. It's all about Christmas. If you want to say happy holidays, nobody's going to stop you. But you can't stop us from saying Merry Christmas. That's the difference. The people that don't want to say Christmas, like this Michigan Attorney General, and you're not even opposed to using your child as a pawn in your game to shut down Christmas. Why is there a war on Christmas? Because there's a war on Christianity. There isn't any other religion that is being attacked like Christianity. There is no other religion. See, they don't go after Hanukkah. They're not going after the parts of Hanukkah where you get gifts for 8 days and saying, oh, well, we need that. We want to do that. See, with Christmas, they want the Christmas tree and they want the gifts, but they don't want to call it Christmas, and they don't want to say they don't want to say Merry Christmas. They want to say Happy Holidays, and they don't want anybody to celebrate the nativity scene, because the war on Christmas is all about the war on Christianity. And they're even so bold as to say, oh, well, Joe Biden's going to fix this Christmas problem. He's going to shut that down. We're going to go back to not being able to say Merry Christmas. And we can't wait, because our children are devastated when people use these awful terms like Merry Christmas. So could you imagine if a Republican wanted to shut down a national holiday? There would be outrage from Hollywood, mainstream media, social media, the Democrats, everybody. It would just be pandemonium. They would be clamoring all over themselves trying to destroy the person trying to do that. But here we have the left trying to erase Christianity. Why? They're after the value system. So moving along, Elizabeth Warren, speaking of crazy left-leaning people, she doesn't even know what she is. She identifies as Native, but she's really 1 in 1,024th. So if you're 1% something, you're still more than you are Native. This woman is calling for the Democrats, when they get the White House, to work just with the House and go around the Senate. Just to veto everything, go around the Senate. Could you imagine if the Republicans were saying that? They would be impeaching the Republican president on a weekly basis. But here's Warren calling for the Democrat Party, when they get in power, to just ram through whatever they want by going around the Senate, by going around the checks and balances that are there for the American voters to be safeguarded from somebody like Elizabeth Warren. Could you imagine any Republican saying, we're just going to put through what we want. We're just going around the House. We're going to go around the Senate. We're going to just go around all that. We're just going to do what we want. It would just never happen. And to be honest, it wouldn't even be tried. So moving along, and kind of similar to the Harry Styles banana ordeal, we have the Squad. Now the Squad is they have a real hate and disdain for Jewish people and for the Jewish state. Rashida Tlaib has just spoke about one of Biden's picks who's Jewish. And her thing is, he's okay as long as he doesn't say anything against me when I'm attacking Israel and the Jewish people. So he's allowed to have a posting that's given to him by the president. He can only have it if I say he can have it, because I don't want any pushback. See, the Democrats don't want any pushback whatsoever. They don't want the media to push back. They don't want the voters to push back. They don't want any of that. That's kind of why they cheated in this election. They wanted the power, and they did it in such a way that they had no pushback. It wasn't the American people and their want. This is an ongoing thing with the Democrats. So here we have Rashida Tlaib wanting no pushback on her hatred of the Jewish people and the Jewish state. So could you even begin to imagine a Republican saying, okay, I'm going to say some awful things about this religion or this race or this country, so don't anybody say anything about me. And if you do, well, then you can't have your posting because I really want to spew this hatred. Well, they called Donald Trump racist for 4 years, and he never said a racist thing. Could you imagine? Here's Rashida Tlaib basically constantly saying racist things and hateful things towards the Jewish people and the Jewish state, and yet nobody's calling her on that. Nobody's saying anything about it. And she even goes so far, she's even so bold as to say, well, that guy over there, he better be a good Jew. He better not push back against anything I say, because I'm hating on him and his people and Israel. So you can have a posting, but only if you don't highlight the fact that I'm being hateful. Like, I can't even begin to imagine what would happen if that was a Republican. So we're going to move on to Bernie Sanders now. Bernie kind of let the cat out of the bag that they cheated. 2 weeks before the election, on late night, I don't know if it was which late night show it was, but he basically said the entire plan, verbatim, of what happened on election night 2 weeks before the election. So you're on Conan or you're on, Fallon or one of these shows, and you're like, you're going to go to bed and you're thinking that Trump won, and then you're going to find out that at 2:00 in the morning, when the mail-in ballots come, they're going to be there, and Biden's going to win when you wake up in the morning in Pennsylvania and in Michigan. You are so excited to brag about cheating that you pulled this over on Trump and the American people, that you go on national TV and let the cat out of the bag. And of course, the media is not going to call you on it. So Republicans are kind of raising this red flag, kind of saying, hey, well, check this out. Bernie knew about it. So you have to picture him behind the scenes, someone saying, Bernie, like, honestly, you go out there and brag about the entire thing. Don't worry about it. We got it. Don't worry. Nobody's going to say anything. The media is not going to say anything. Well, they're not. And here he is bragging about the exact thing. He's not that smart. He doesn't foresee what's going to happen. He didn't know which states were going to be just random. He knew because he's in on the plan. And if that doesn't cement it for you people thinking, oh, there's no proof. Well, there's your proof. They were so adamant that Amy Coney Barrett not get that Supreme Court position. Why were they? Because they didn't want a fact-based mindset having the majority on the Supreme Court. They did not want a conservative majority on the Supreme Court because they knew there would be evidence of them cheating in this election. And they knew that it would eventually make it there. And they did not want a majority in favor of reason. They want feeling. They want Democrat sponsored. They want Democrat leaning. They want somebody that's going to go their way. Well, here they have a majority now in the Supreme Court that's going to look at the actual facts. And nobody there is going to tell them, there's no proof. Don't worry. They'll figure that out because they'll have the proof with them. And if there is proof, then they're going to decide using facts because there's a majority that is conservative. And this is why they were so opposed to her. This is yet another example of, did they cheat? Absolutely. They knew they were going to. They have had this plan in the works for a long time. So here they are now knowing that it's going to the Supreme Court. And the very thing that they fought against was a majority conservative Supreme Court. They have a feeling of being they're untouchable. The mainstream media, the Democrats themselves, amongst themselves, they cover for each other. You have social media. All of these outlets are covering for the Democrats when they make mistakes, when they like MSNBC, CNN, they do things like going after Nick Sandmann. Nick Sandmann was the young man with the Covington High School kid that had the mega hat on, and they made him to be the villain and ended up having to pay him millions of dollars for this depiction and this attack on his character when he was the only one that acted like an adult that entire day on the Capitol. They twist and they turn the truth for their own narrative. And because of that, they have a sense of being untouchable. They can do and say whatever they want. And sadly, that has to change. This cancel culture, this bias in the media so that we're being misinformed instead of informed, all of these things really have to go to the wayside because they are nothing but damning to a society. Now, speaking of that, we have a CNN White House analyst, April Ryan, who's calling for the mainstream media to, let me see, what was her words? Don't expose Biden's contradictions. He hasn't even taken office, and you're already sending out the group memo, hey, Biden's going to say a lot of dumb things. Don't report them. Make sure we're not giving the Republicans anything to use against Biden. So all his contradictions, all his flubs, all his gas, all those other things, don't report them. That's not your job. So basically, do the same thing you did when Obama was in power. So Obama was a well-spoken, he was very articulate, he was very, good at doing speeches and public speaking, and he was hip, he was cool. Yeah, he had a great persona. But his policies were terrible and they were weak, and it gave rise to ISIS. They thrived under the weakness of Obama, and his policies were weak, and they weakened the American people and the working force, and it was terrible. Well, did they report any of that? No. They gave him a Nobel Peace Prize. Nobody knows what for. They covered for him. Well, they're already getting set to do that for Biden. And that is sad and shameful that they have went after Trump for the last 4 years with the dumbest questions ever at the White House press release, the press conferences. The questions have been asinine. So now those same people are going to say, oh, good, Biden's in. Oof, like he's losing it. So make sure we don't cover any of that. Give him the underhand pitches, right? Like just lob them in so he can hit a home run. And it's sad. So this April Ryan, I hope she loses her job because this came out, because it's asinine. Like, okay, the new president's dumb, so we're not going to cover any of the things he says. Cynthia Jones. Now, Cynthia Jones and Obama have something in common. They are both calling for Trump supporters. They're calling on them to be rally, like they want to round them up. They want to lash out at them. Obama lashed out at the Latinos, and Cynthia's Trumpers. They're calling them Trumpers. Now listen, you Trumpers, you just chill. You just like step aside. Like, we cheated, we got caught. You guys just step aside. I don't know what Cynthia Jones is doing with her videos, but calling out people for voting for Trump is something that only the Democrats could do. Could imagine the Republicans calling out people that voted for Obama, or calling out people that voted for the Democrats, or it just wouldn't happen, because it would be pandemonium. There would be an outpouring of, and rightly so. But we're not going to see that with Obama and with Cynthia Jones and with AOC and with Rashida Tlaib and all of the other Democrats that are trying to kind of point out, trying to put the fear into somebody, like, we're going to get your name and you're going to be sorry. And you're putting fear into the voter that they shouldn't vote. They did this when Hillary lost to Trump. They did that because they had Black Lives Matter outside of the polling stations, and that's why the exit polls were so far off. They had her winning 92% because they had hate groups standing outside of the elections and saying, who'd you vote for? And well, if you said Trump, you knew you were going to get your ass kicked. So who's going to say Trump? Nobody. So here you have the same thing going on at a different level. We're a president of the United States is calling out Latinos for voting for Trump. So now that if Biden gets in, do you think that they're going to give anything to Latinos? Maybe, but that's the fear. So these are the things that should be raising all kinds of red flags. And I'm going to stay on top of all these. They show a complete double standard. There's more examples, but these are like some of the ones that have really been bothering me. So we have an opportunity, we have an obligation, and we have to change this double standard, and we have to change it correctly. We have to change it through the proper channels, and we can't give in and start playing the same game as the Democrats, or we're no better. So we have to understand these. We have to analyze them. We have to move forward with a positive plan that's going to counteract these very measures. But I'm going to stay on this. I'm going to have more examples in the future. I'm going to follow Biden and his administration, unless Trump does pull out a win at the Supreme Court. But yeah, hit that subscribe button and come on the same journey. Talk to you soon.